How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000. Today is December 16, 2021, and today we're going to focus on our next major snowstorm that's headed for the Northeast into later this weekend. And we'll also talk about the next big cool down that's expected to occur throughout the eastern half of the United States and bring temperatures well below average for many areas of the United States. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current radar throughout the lower 48 of the United States, and you see that we do have elongated area of rain showers extending through Tennessee, extending through Kentucky, as well as Arkansas, and we're seeing even some thunderstorms embedded within this elongated area of showers, but these aren't really severe. There isn't enough lift in the atmosphere for severe weather to occur out of these thunderstorms, while there is certainly a sort of moderately leveled northwesterly flow associated with this low pressure system moving to the northeast. It isn't really bringing enough instability for any sort of severe weather to occur, but this northwesterly flow should pretty much set up to develop our next major northeast snowstorm, especially when this small trough that's moving from the Pacific Northwest moves further eastward, and it will bring the temperatures far down enough in the Midwest for some lift to occur in the warmer than usual areas, such as maybe the Southeast. And we're going to see a major snowstorm form out of this unstable environment that's expected to form as a result of this trough moving southeastward and bringing unstable environment to right around this area, because we're seeing warmer and humid and more humid than average conditions for the southeast, and it'll interact with the cooler than average conditions further northwestward, and that should create just enough of an unstable environment for a lot of convection to occur for our next northeast snowstorm to occur. If we were to take a look at the GFS model, what it's forecasting when it comes to the snowfall, you see that this is a trough I'm talking to you guys about, and this is the area of rain showers I'm talking to you guys about. And as you can see, while there is somewhat of a strong northwesterly flow associated with this low pressure system, for one thing is that the low pressure system is far to the north, so it isn't bringing as strong of a northwesterly flow to bring as much instability for now for any sort of severe weather to occur. But also the cold air is far enough to the north for not a lot of instability to occur for severe weather to occur. But that will change as this trough heads further eastward, where you begin to see that as it does move further eastward, we're going to see a pronounced dip in the jet stream for a lot of convection to occur, and a low pressure system forms as a result of how much lift and how much buoyancy there is within this air mass as a result of this cooler, denser air trying to force the warmer and much lighter air molecules further upwards, and that's creating a lot of lift and convection in the atmosphere for a more potent center of circulation to occur, or low pressure system to develop as this pronounced jet stream dip heads further eastward. And you see that the low pressure will eventually move eastward along with the jet stream winds, and we're going to see snow out of this, and temperatures in the northeastern states should be cold enough for snow and significant snow, as there is that possibility that in some areas you could receive up to a foot of snow with this oncoming trough that's going to move through, and it should primarily impact the areas further northward in the northeast. So areas further southward in the northeast, such as maybe New York City, it should primarily or not entirely be it'll be entirely a rain event for you guys. So if we were to take a look at where the GFS model wants to bring the rain snow line, you see that initially, as a low pressure system initially moves into the northeast, you do see that the areas further southward, such as maybe the New Jersey and New York border, does receive maybe a little bit of mixing or snow. But eventually, as the low pressure system moves further northward, so will the warmer air, and the rain snow line should move northward as well, which would mean that most of New York City and Pennsylvania this will primarily be a rain event for you guys. And but in areas in New England, you still could experience a significant snow event because you see that Boston will have some time. It's gonna have a couple hours where they're gonna be under snowfall. So accumulating snowfall is certainly possible right around the Boston area, as it'll be your first potentially major snowstorm for you guys. And even Hartford, Connecticut could receive a good amount of snow before maybe it eventually changes over to a mix or into a rain event. But I'd say north of the Interstate 90 corridor, which extends from Boston all the way to, of course, Seattle. But in local terms, Interstate 90 extends from Boston to Buffalo. I'd say just north of the Interstate 90 corridor, it should primarily be an all snow event if you're north of the Interstate 90 corridor, which includes Vermont, which includes anywhere north of Albany, New York, anywhere north of New Hampshire, and of course, pretty much all of Maine. This will be a snow event for you guys. Now, in terms of certainty with this, it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to experience a major snowstorm, at least somewhere in the Northeast, and the most likely will, of course, be the interior portions of the Northeast, the extreme northern portions. And while there is still high certainty that you will experience a major snowstorm and that this will primarily be a rain event for those closer to New York City and further southward, there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly that rain snow line will be, because this will be another one of those situations where any small differences in the forecast, especially if you're close to the rain snow line, will be difficult, because any small differences maybe to the north or the south could mean the difference from receiving no snow to maybe receiving 6 inches of snow. It's going to be another one of those tough forecasts, especially for Boston, because you're going to be in the snow for a little bit, but the question remains how long and where exactly that trajectory will which trajectory will the snow pressure take, because if it takes a trajectory slightly more northward, then you will experience a little bit less snow in Boston. But if you were to experience, if the low pressure were to experience a trajectory further southward, then there is that possibility that this will primarily be a snow event for Boston and you'll receive significant snowfall as a result. There's still a lot of questions that remain. We really need to see how the jet stream builds up and how pronounced this jet stream dip will be as it heads further eastward, and it will really and what will really help determine that is when this low pressure system actually forms, because we need to see where this center circulation actually forms to get a better idea of where the exact trajectory will be. While it still won't be 100% certain, it will definitely make it a lot more certain once this low pressure system actually forms and we get a good idea of where the jet stream winds will want to steer this storm in the future. So there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly our rain snow line will be, but I'd say still in Boston and in areas closer to rain snow line, I'd say prepare, because it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to a snowstorm, especially a potentially major snowstorm like this where you could maybe receive over 6 inches of snow. So you want to prepare even if you're close to the rain snow line, but there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly our rain snow line will be. But I'd say it's very certain at this point we will see a major snowstorm for the Northeast, especially those in the interior Northeast. And I'd say areas maybe just south of Hartford, this should primarily be a rain event for you guys. So I would prepare if you're maybe south of the Hartford, Connecticut area. So New York City, for those hoping for snow, I'd say it's pretty much almost impossible at this point. The only way is if we do see a low pressure trajectory that's a little bit further southward and we do see maybe snow to begin before it changes all into rain for New York City metropolitan area. But for the most part, the most likely scenario is that this will be an all rain event for New York City and areas further southward, of course, as the main threat of snow and winter weather will be north of Hartford, I'd say, where you could receive a mix of potentially heavy snowfall in those areas. Now, you might be wondering what the GFS model is forecasting when it comes to the accumulating snowfall. So if we were to take a look at that headed right around the 3-day mark, you do see that extending through Boston, Hartford, and Providence, The consensus is that the GFS model wants to bring right around 1 to 3 inches of snow, which may not sound like a lot, but it still could definitely cause havoc on the roadways. So you want to make sure to prepare for that, even if you're under the 1 to 3 inch category, because you certainly don't want to underestimate the snow just because it might not be the heaviest snow of what you could receive from the snowstorm compared to other areas. But you see that further northward, just north of the Interstate 90 corridor, you see that the snowfall certainly does increase the snowfall accumulation to more of a 6 to 12 inch range right around the Adirondacks. This extends to Vermont as well as New Hampshire, and the southern portions of Maine are receiving right around 6 to 12 inches of snow. So you want to prepare for a major snowstorm because over 6 inches of snow is considered major, and you could even in some areas consider maybe 3 inches of snow major depending on how fast that snowfall. So you want to prepare throughout the Boston area and northward, because in Boston you should receive maybe around 1 to 3 inches of snow, but there is also that possibility that we see a low pressure trajectory for southward where it brings maybe closer to 6 inches or so in Boston. You can't be so certain when it comes to these snowstorms, especially when you're very close to the rain snow line. So you want to prepare in Boston as if you're going to receive 6 inches of snow, because it's better to be safe than sorry in that area. And you see that just south of Hartford, the snowfall accumulation quickly dwindles to the point where there isn't any snowfall accumulation just south of Hartford, little to no accumulation just south of the Hartford area. So New York City should primarily miss out on the snowfall. Now, let's take a look at what the European model is saying when it comes to the snowfall, and they're very similar, but there's still definitely differences. For one thing is that the European model wants to bring the heavier snowfall further southward. So in this case, Boston is receiving closer to the 3 to 6 inch range rather than the 1 to 3 the GFS model wants to bring. And Hartford, Connecticut's receiving a little bit more snow. And you see that the snow extends further southward to where it isn't too far from New York City. And even the extreme northern portions of northern New Jersey do receive some accumulating snowfall. So there's still uncertainty regarding these two computer models, which one will be correct, and it could make a huge difference in terms of the snowfall accumulation you experience, especially if you're in the more southern portion of New England and the Northeast in general, such as just south of Boston. But I'm just prepared for a potentially major snowstorm for pretty much all of New England and upstate New York, where upstate New York and New Hampshire and Vermont are still receiving 6 to 12 inches, which is significant snowstorm for you guys. So you want to keep that in mind all throughout the Northeast. It's pretty much likely at this point you will experience a major snowstorm. So keep that in mind for this week. Now, let's take a look at what else that could happen over the next week. After this snowstorm, what's going to be interesting is that we're going to see a major cool down throughout the eastern half of the United States. And this is as a direct result of a negative Arctic oscillation that's going to develop over the next few days. And that should bring the jet stream further southward, and we should see cooler than average conditions for the most part for a lot of the northern United States. You see that the jet stream does dip a lot over the next several days and maybe into next week as well. Taking a look at what the GFS model is saying when it comes to the temperatures, you see that where you see the 540 mark, that's pretty much the point where the temperatures will be above or below average. And you see that we're seeing significant jet stream dips, and we're seeing a lot cooler than average conditions throughout the eastern half and the northern eastern half of the United States, more specifically. So you need to prepare for just very cool conditions over the next several weeks, and it could set up for a next potentially major snowstorm. I'm not talking about this one that's coming up for New England, but maybe snowstorms in the future thanks to a negative Arctic oscillation, because of course with a more pronounced jet stream dip as a result of a negative Arctic oscillation, the more chances there are for unstable air, convection, and of course when the temperatures are colder, there's more likely of a chance of snow rather than rain. So you see that we're expecting to dip down into a negative range and into a quite significant dip into a negative range, especially during late December. So there's definitely something we need to pay close attention to over the next several weeks, because we could see quite a significant change when it comes to temperatures over the next couple of weeks, especially since it's been so warm as of recent. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind throughout the Northeast as well as the United States in general. And here's my snowfall forecast regarding this upcoming snowstorm. So for places further southward, pretty much north of the New Jersey border, and extending all the way to the Interstate 90 corridor in Boston, I'm expecting right around 1 to 3 inches of snow. Again, there's still uncertainty regarding where exactly that rain snow line will be, because it could mean the difference between 3 to 6 to maybe receiving only 1 inch of snow. You need to pay close attention to that, but make sure to prepare even if you're in the 1 to 3 inch category, because it's better be safe than sorry. And 1 to 3 inches you don't want to underestimate, because it still could cause havoc on the roads. And I'm expecting 6 to 12 inches for a lot of northern New York, extending through New Hampshire, as well as Vermont, as well as Maine. The southern portions of Maine, you should receive right around 6 to 12 inches or so, as it will pretty much be an entirely all snow event for you guys. So you want to prepare for major snowfall, and the snowfall could be heavy at times. So make sure to keep that in mind over this weekend, because this will be a significant snowstorm for a lot of you guys. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.